Hello there. If you're watching this right now, chances are you or someone you love has been doing their best to stay healthy in their golden years. Maybe that means walking every day around the neighborhood. Or maybe it's making sure you get 10,000 steps in before dinner. If so, I want to begin by saying you're doing something right. But I also want to offer you something better. My name is Dr. James Hall. I'm a geriatric physician with over 30 years of experience helping older adults stay strong, independent, and full of life well into their 70s, 80s, and beyond. I've seen what works, and more importantly, what doesn't. And today, I want to share with you something that could change the way you think about aging forever. The big misconception. For decades, the golden rule has been, just keep walking. And don't get me wrong, walking is a beautiful, simple, and accessible form of movement. It gets your heart pumping, your legs moving, and your mind relaxed. It's a fantastic starting point. But here's what most people don't realize. After age 70, walking alone is not enough. In fact, if it's your only form of exercise, it might actually be holding you back. That may sound surprising or even frustrating, especially if you've been disciplined about getting your daily steps in. But stick with me. I'm not here to take walking away from you. I'm here to add something back. Something deeper, stronger, and more powerful for your long-term health. The silent decline that walking can't stop. Let me tell you something that every geriatric doctor knows, but most older adults are never told. There are 5 silent threats that begin to accelerate after age 70. Muscle loss, balance instability, joint stiffness, postural weakening, overuse strain on knees and hips. Walking helps with some of these, but it leaves critical gaps. Gaps that, if ignored, can lead to falls, pain, hospital visits, and the slow fading of independence. You may feel okay today. You may say, I'm still moving fine. But aging doesn't shout, it whispers. It whispers when getting out of bed feels a little harder. It whispers when you start using your hand to push off the couch. It whispers when a short walk leaves your knees aching or your back sore. And by the time that whisper becomes a scream, often in the form of a fall, or a health scare, recovery is slower, harder, and more painful. But here's the truth. It doesn't have to be this way. New standard, 5 pillars of healthy aging. Doctors today are no longer just telling older adults to keep moving. We're telling them to move smarter, to focus on 5 essential areas of fitness that protect your independence, your energy, and even your brain health. Over the next hour of this video, I'm going to guide you through these 5 pillars. Strength training, to prevent muscle loss. Balance exercises, to avoid life-altering falls. Flexibility and mobility work, to keep your joints pain-free. Core and posture movements, to protect your spine and confidence. Low-impact joint-safe movement, to reduce wear and tear. These are not complex. They don't require a gym. They don't demand perfection. They just require intention. A small daily choice to support the only body you've got. And I promise you, your body is still capable of adapting, growing, and even improving, no matter your age. The new standard, 5 pillars of healthy aging. Doctors today are no longer just telling older adults to keep moving. We're telling them to move smarter, to focus on 5 essential areas of fitness that protect your independence, your energy, and even your brain health. Over the next hour of this video, I'm going to guide you through these 5 pillars. Strength training, to prevent muscle loss. Balance exercises, to avoid life-altering falls. Flexibility and mobility work, to keep your joints pain-free. Core and posture movements, to protect your spine and confidence. Low-impact joint-safe movement, to reduce wear and tear. These are not complex. They don't require a gym. They don't demand perfection. They just require intention. A small daily choice to support the only body you've got. And I promise you, your body is still capable of adapting, growing, and even improving, no matter your age. What this video isn't. This video is not about fear. It's about power. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what works. And it's not about blaming you for walking, it's about celebrating that habit while helping you build a foundation that goes deeper. Because you deserve more than just steps. You deserve strength, balance, comfort, and freedom. So if you've ever felt frustrated that aging feels harder than it should, if you've ever thought, I just don't feel as strong as I used to and I don't know why, or if you're simply curious to know what science says you really need after 70, then keep watching. This video may be the most important one you see this year. Pillar number 1. Strength training, your first line of defense against aging. Let's begin with what I believe is the single most overlooked and most powerful form of exercise for people over 70. Strength training. I know what you might be thinking. Strength training? At my age? Isn't that for young people at the gym, lifting heavy weights? Absolutely not. In fact, strength training becomes more important as you age less. Let me explain why. What happens to muscle after 70? After the age of 30, your body begins to lose muscle mass gradually. By age 70, you may have lost up to 25–30% of your total muscle mass without even noticing. That process is called sarcopenia, and it's not just about getting weaker or slower, it's about losing one of the key protectors of your life. Your muscle system. Muscles don't just help you lift things. They help you stand up from a chair, climb stairs, carry groceries, maintain balance, protect your joints, and even support your metabolism and brain function. When you lose muscle, everything becomes harder. And the worst part? Most people don't realize it's happening until it's already caused real damage. The hidden danger of feeling fine. Let me introduce you to a former patient of mine, Robert, age 74. Robert walked every day. He was proud of that. He felt fine until one day he tried to lift a small box of books from the floor and couldn't. His arms shook, his back tensed. And when he tried to stand up from the couch later that week, he realized he needed both hands and a little push just to get moving. That's when he came to me. Not because he was in pain, but because he felt off. We did some basic muscle strength assessments, and the results shocked him. His lower body strength had dropped by nearly 40% in the last decade. His grip strength, a major predictor of longevity, was well below average. And the truth is, if Robert didn't start working on his strength right then, the road ahead would only get harder. What counts as strength training? Now, let me ease your mind. Strength training doesn't mean going to the gym and bench pressing 200 pounds. It means using progressive resistance, applying just enough challenge to your muscles so they adapt, strengthen, and grow. Here's what that might look like for someone in their 70s. Doing chair squats, sitting and standing from a chair without hands, lifting light dumbbells or water bottles, using resistance bands, doing countertop push-ups, holding a wall, sit for 10–20 seconds, practicing step-ups on stairs. These simple movements, done consistently, can transform how you feel, how you move, and even how your brain functions. Because remember, muscle isn't just for motion, it sends powerful signals to your bones, brain, and heart. The science is clear. Study after study confirms the power of strength training after 70. One study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that seniors who participated in regular strength training had a 46% lower risk of death from any cause. Strength training improves bone density, reducing your risk of fractures. It boosts balance and stability, cutting your fall risk in half. It improves glucose regulation, helping fight off type 2 diabetes. And it even boosts cognitive performance. Lifting can sharpen your mind. So if you've ever wondered, what's one thing I can do to stay young? This is it. Number 2. Balance and stability. The hidden lifeline to your independence. Let's move to something that isn't talked about nearly enough yet. It may be the most important predictor of whether someone in their 70s, 80s, or 90s lives independently, or ends up in a hospital bed. Balance. I want you to take a moment and ask yourself this. When was the last time you truly thought about your balance? Was it while reaching for something on the top shelf? Was it the last time you bent down to tie your shoes and felt just slightly unsteady? Or maybe you haven't noticed anything yet, and that's the most dangerous part. You see, balance doesn't usually go all at once. It slips quietly, gradually, until one day, you fall. The truth about falls. After 70, let me be clear. Falls are the leading cause of injury-related death in older adults. Not disease, not infection, falls. More than 3 million seniors are treated in emergency rooms every year because of falls. And once you fall, especially after 70, the recovery can be long, painful, and sometimes incomplete. A broken hip at 75 can be the start of a permanent decline. But here's the part most people miss. Most falls aren't caused by weak legs. They're caused by weakened balance systems, tiny muscles in your feet, ankles, hips, and core that no longer respond as quickly or stabilize as well. And unfortunately, walking alone won't fix that. Why walking isn't balance training? It's easy to assume, well, I walk every day. That means my balance is good, right? Not quite. Walking is a rhythmic, repetitive movement. It doesn't challenge your body to stabilize in unusual positions or respond quickly to uneven ground, curbs, or sudden changes in motion. It doesn't force your brain and muscles to react in the unpredictable ways real life demands. Balance, on the other hand, is reactive. It's your body's internal GPS plus shock absorbers plus stabilizer bars all working in real time. And like any system, if you don't train it, you lose it. Edward's story. A close call. I'd like you to meet Edward. He's 76, a retired school principal who took pride in staying active. He walked his dog every morning, ate well, stayed socially engaged. But last year, something happened that shook him. While stepping off a curb downtown, his right foot landed awkwardly, just a little too far. In a split second, he lost his balance. Arms flailing, heart racing, stumbled forward, barely catching himself on a newspaper stand. He didn't fall, but he could have. And that moment stuck with him. He came into my clinic a few days later and said something I'll never forget. I didn't realize how vulnerable I'd become until my own body reminded me. We tested his balance, things like standing on one foot for 10 seconds, heel to toe walking in a straight line, shifting weight side to side with eyes closed. Edward failed most of them. And yet, he felt fine. He had no pain. He walked daily. But his balance system had been slowly deteriorating, and he never saw it coming. Why balance declines with age, and what to do about it. As you age, several things begin to change. The small stabilizer muscles around your ankles and hips weaken. Your inner ear, which controls spatial orientation, becomes less sensitive. Your reflexes slow down, meaning your body takes longer to correct a misstep. And your proprioception, your brain's sense of where your body is in space, becomes less sharp. But here's the good news. Just like with strength, balance can be rebuilt. In fact, many studies show that regular balance training can reduce fall risk by up to 50%, even in adults over 80. Number 3. Flexibility and mobility. The quiet keys to pain. Free living. Let's talk about something that often goes unnoticed until it's gone. Your ability to move freely and pain-free. You might not think of it every day, but the truth is your joints, your muscles, your tendons, all of them work in beautiful coordination just to help you do the simplest things. Turn your head to check for traffic. Reach up to grab a cup from the cabinet. Bend over to tie your shoe or pick up a dropped key. Now imagine this. What happens when those movements start to feel tight? What happens when you stop reaching, twisting, or bending because it's just not as comfortable as it used to be? That's what we call a slow loss of mobility. And it is one of the most underestimated threats to aging well. When the body begins to tighten, as we age, it's natural for our joints to lose fluid, for connective tissues to stiffen, and for muscles to shorten from disuse. This doesn't happen all at once. In fact, many people barely notice it at first. It might start with a little tightness turning your neck in the morning, a slight struggle to reach behind your back, to put on a coat, or a low back twinge when trying to pick something up off the floor. But here's the danger. When you begin to avoid those movements, when you stop rotating your spine, or opening your hips, or lifting your arms fully overhead, your range of motion shrinks. Your posture suffers. And over time, your ability to move with ease fades away. It's not just about stiffness, it's about independence. Because the moment you stop being able to move freely is the moment everyday tasks start to feel like obstacles. Walter's story. I didn't even realize I was stiff. I'll tell you about Walter, age 78. He was a proud walker every morning, rain or shine. He assumed that meant his joints were getting what they needed. But over time, he noticed some small things. He had to bend his knees deeper to reach the ground. Getting out of bed in the morning took more effort, and he'd walk it off for the first 20 minutes of the day. Turning to look behind him while driving felt tighter. He shrugged it off. Just getting older, he'd say. Until one day, he tried reaching to fasten his seatbelt and couldn't quite get it around without twisting awkwardly. That was his wake-up call. Not pain, not injury. Just the realization that his movement wasn't what it used to be. When he came to see me, we did a few simple range of motion tests and, sure enough, his shoulders, spine, and hip flexors were all significantly restricted. And yet, he walked daily. That's the key takeaway. Walking moves your legs, but it doesn't stretch your joints. It doesn't rotate your spine. It doesn't open your shoulders. It doesn't elongate your muscles. Mobility isn't just about moving. It's about moving well. Why flexibility and mobility matter more than you think. Here's what science and decades of patient experience tells us. Maintaining flexibility improves blood circulation. It reduces muscle and joint pain. It helps prevent compensatory movements that lead to injury, and it can dramatically improve posture, breathing, and even digestion. In fact, one large study from Japan found that seniors with greater flexibility, particularly in the spine and hamstrings, had significantly lower risk of falling and better functional independence scores than their stiff counterparts. Think of flexibility as the oil in your engine. Without it, everything grinds, stiffens, and eventually breaks down. Number 4. Core and posture. The silent foundation of strength and stability. Now let's talk about something that shapes every movement you make, even though you probably don't think about it very often: your core and your posture. Most people hear the word core and immediately think of six-pack abs or magazine fitness models. But that's not what we're talking about here. For those of us over 70, your core is not about vanity. It's about survival. Your core is the center of gravity in your body. It's the brace that holds your spine in alignment. It's the stabilizer that allows you to sit upright, walk tall, stand without swaying, and move without hurting your back. And if it weakens, your entire structure weakens with it. The foundation beneath everything else. I want you to picture a tree. A tall, beautiful tree can only stay upright in a storm if its trunk is strong. No matter how healthy the branches or how deep the roots, if the trunk is unstable, the entire tree leans, buckles, and eventually breaks. That's your core. It doesn't just help you do sit-ups. It supports your spinal alignment, your balance and coordination, your ability to stand, walk, bend, and rotate safely, and your posture, a literal shape of how you carry yourself in the world. Posture isn't just about appearance. It's about breathing, blood flow, energy, safety, and even self-confidence. When posture collapses, pressure increases on your lower back, your neck strains to compensate, and your knees and hips work overtime. The result? Discomfort, stiffness, fatigue, and a greater risk of injury. Harold's story: the weight of a weak core. Harold, one of my longtime patients, was 75 when he came to see me about some chronic lower back stiffness. He walked daily, ate well, even did some light stretching. But I noticed something immediately. When he sat in the chair, he slouched. When he stood, his shoulders rounded forward. When he walked, his steps were short and cautious, not confident. We did a few posture and core assessments. He couldn't hold a wall stand for more than a few seconds without feeling discomfort. He had trouble engaging his abdominal muscles while sitting upright. And when asked to lift one knee while standing still, he wobbled not because of leg weakness, but because his core wasn't stabilizing him. Harold had strong legs, but a weak foundation. And that's more common than you think. Signs your core and posture are slipping. You might not notice your core weakening until it's already causing issues. Here are some common red flags I see in patients over 70. Needing to lean forward when standing or walking. Lower back stiffness or discomfort, especially when upright for long periods. Feeling winded faster than usual. Poor posture limits breathing capacity. Trouble sitting up straight without support. A feeling of being off balance when moving quickly or turning. If any of these sound familiar, don't panic. The good news is, core strength and posture can be improved at any age. Even in your 80s or 90s, the right gentle movements can help rebuild your internal stability, reduce back pain, and make you feel more secure and energized in your body. Why it matters? Beyond just the back. Studies show that improved core activation leads to better gait stability, lower fall risk, fewer spinal injuries, and improved bladder control, digestion, and breathing. Yes, you read that right. Your abdominal muscles even help support internal organ function. This isn't about looks. It's about longevity, comfort, and confidence. And the best part, you don't need crunches, you don't need gym machines, you just need awareness and gentle, consistent activation of the muscles that keep your frame upright. Number 5. Joint protection and low impact movement. The art of moving without pain. Let me ask you something simple. How do your knees feel after a long walk? What about your hips after a day on your feet? Do your ankles ever feel stiff in the morning? Or maybe it's your lower back quietly protesting after doing errands? If you've ever shrugged it off as just part of getting older, you're not alone. But here's the truth. Joint pain is not an inevitable part of aging. It's often a sign of wear without recovery, of movement without protection, and sometimes walking without balance. That brings us to our final pillarone of the most important and misunderstood: joint protection and low-impact movement. Because moving your body is essential, but how you move it matters even more. The anatomy of wear and tear. Let's take a quick moment to understand what happens to your joints as you age. Each joint, whether it's your knee, hip, shoulder, or spine, is surrounded by cartilage that cushions the bones. Inside, there's a lubricant called synovial fluid that helps everything glide smoothly. The surrounding muscles act like shock absorbers. But over time, cartilage naturally wears thinner. Synovial fluid production slows. Muscle support weakens if unused. Now imagine walking step after step on joints that aren't fully supported. Even a healthy habit like walking can become a repetitive stressor, especially when it's your only form of movement. When walking alone starts to hurt, let me be clear again. I'm not here to tell you to stop walking, but I am here to help you understand why walking alone may not be enough and might even be contributing to discomfort. You see, walking involves repetitive impact on the knees and hips, minimal variation in joint angles, limited activation of support muscles beyond the legs. For someone in their 70s or 80s, doing this day after day without any complementary movement like stretching, mobility work, or non-impact activities can slowly lead to inflammation, stiffness, and eventually, joint pain. Raymond's story. The daily walk that hurt more than helped. Raymond, 77, was a dedicated walker. He prided himself on getting his 8,000 steps every day. But over time, he began to notice that his knees ached by the evening. His lower back felt tight. He had to rest longer between errands, and mornings started with groaning his way out of bed. At first, he thought, well, I'm still walking every day. I should be doing better, not worse. So he walked more. But the pain got worse. That's when he came to me. And after just one conversation, it became clear Raymond was moving without support. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just doing too much of one thing and not enough of the right things to support it. The shift. From repetition to restoration. When we introduced low-impact, joint-friendly movements to Raymond's routine: swimming twice a week, chair yoga on Sundays, some simple hip and ankle mobility drills before bed, everything changed. Within 4 weeks, his knees stopped aching. His back felt more limber. And most importantly, he was still walking, but now, without pain. That's the power of respecting your joints. Of listening when your body whispers instead of waiting until it screams. So, here we are. You've made it through what I truly believe are the 5 most important lessons anyone over 70 can learn about their health. That muscle mass is your first line of defense against aging. That balance isn't guaranteed and can be rebuilt before it's lost. That mobility and flexibility are the oil in your joints, not just luxuries. That core strength and posture shape not just how you look, but how you feel. And that joint protective, low-impact movement is the art of moving without pain. If there's one message I hope you'll carry with you from this entire video, it's this. Movement alone isn't enough. The right kind of movement is what gives you your life back. Getting older doesn't mean getting weaker. I've been a doctor for more than 30 years. And the biggest myth I've seen people believe is that aging means decline, that it's normal to slow down, to lose strength, to feel stiff, to hurt. But what I've learned, and what I've seen in hundreds of patients, says this: aging means changing. But change doesn't have to mean losing. Your body still wants to move well. It still wants to be strong. It just needs a little help, a little intention, and maybe a new direction. A simple question for you right now. Take a moment, right now, and ask yourself, do I feel as strong as I'd like to? Do I trust my body to catch me if I stumble? Do I move with ease? Do I hesitate, compensate, or push through discomfort? Do I rely only on walking to stay healthy? Have I ignored stiffness, aches, or balance issues, thinking they're just age? If the answer to any of those is yes, please know this: you can change it. Starting today, it's never too late, and it doesn't take a lot. Here's the beautiful part about every tip we've shared. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need to move like you did at 30. You just need consistency, a chair, a wall, a little curiosity, and most of Allah decision to start. Because once you begin even with 5 minutes a day, you'll start to feel it. A bit more strength in your legs, a bit more confidence in your step, a bit more freedom in your shoulders and spine, a bit more you returning to the surface. That's not just movement, that's reclaiming your independence.